This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome to the HICCS-OHD user guide video. I'm going to take you through all the necessary steps for you to effectively use the OHD, Organizational Health Platform, Development Platform tool. I'm Niklas Christides. I am the founder of HICCS as well as the designer of this tool. Just for your knowledge, we will be rolling out a web version of this in around mid-2019, most likely, but we'll let you know. Right, so let's go into the intro. We are currently on the intro page of the Excel sheet, Excel version of the HICCS-OHD Slim. So this version does not have the data storage capability or the dashboard capability. These you can upgrade to by contacting us, when we will then give you arrange a call to review your requirements. In terms of the tool, you can actually go to the HICCS.fi site to review all of the material related to the OHD as well. And this is kind of going to work as the support center. This link may not work for the earliest users of this version, but we are currently updating this. Right, so there are a number of steps to do for the tool to become ready for use. There's quick versions and the ones that want to do a more detailed assessment, they can do so as well. First, we start with a setup page. In here, you have essentially the structure of the tool itself. The tool versions have always two language options. English is a standard, so we are developing a universal way of looking at the OHD. So if you have organization that is global and works in multiple environments, you can receive a local language version for the actual assessment questions. The way it works, we have a function kind of breakdown. This is based on the HICCS Fusion Ops model. You can order that from us as well if you want to familiarize how we actually design the operational environment. But you have a number of categories: executive intelligence strategy, governance, business DNA formulation, risk frameworks, cross-business reports, load capacity, so on. So you can actually have a A4 of this as well, which is downloadable from the HICCS site. The questions have been mapped already for the tool in terms of each of the different business categories that you would be assessing for your relevant business or organization. And that question, as said, is in English and in Finnish. You don't really need to change these. However, there is an opportunity to adjust in here. So this is not locked. It's up to you in this Excel version. If you want to specify something for your organization, just be aware that there is a restriction on text. So it may not all be visible if you start writing a lot. You can choose which fields are relevant for your business, for whether you want them to be part of the assessment or not. So you can go through these questions and tailor make your own assessment. There is an impact field as well. So this has also been predefined to what we believe are operational standards that businesses should follow. They may, however, slightly vary depending on industry. There is also an interval, and the interval can also be adjusted to how often you feel that you should assess each of these particular areas. So it's kind of just like a trigger for the business to remind yourself to do this assessment. We also have a grouping. So this is kind of how we make this tool more diverse and dynamic. So in this grouping, we have different categories that are linked. And again, these are something that we are looking to standardize in the actual online version. But for now, if you want to realign them, you may. The way the traffic light system works is percentage based. So we have a percentage scale from 5% to 10% to 100% in terms of our the way we split. How do you say the matching of the current status of each question. So you may decide what for your organization is on track and what for your organization is challenged. We have just standardized this at 90% means 90 and over means on track, 90 to 60 means challenge, and anything less than 60 is a concern. And then there is just when you change these include ones, it kind of just creates an update here to see, which means that it updates to your needs essentially and your specification. Just let me put that back. Okay, then we have the ability to choose on business type whether we want a whether the business is large corporate, SME, or so on, and there's some parameters that they will automatically remove if you are, for instance, an SME. Right. So you do this, and that means that you have a standard setup for your business. If you don't want to set up, you can straight away move to the low-level assessment. Right, very simple. There are not many fields here. First of all, you can change between languages. If you prefer to do it in English, you can do so. Just be aware that there are quite a lot of abbreviations in the English text, and you should use the support sheets. The Finnish one is in this version, an example, and you can then change, and then you get your questions in that local language. You can, for your own track record, you can enter the date on when you're doing your assessment, so you remember how long it's been since the last one. And this is obviously relevant if you get the OHD total version, because it means that you can actually store your data for each assessment based on the date. So we can actually create databases that track the risk and kind of development of the business. You may choose a function, specify a function, unit, or partner. Again, it's more for reference when you use the slim version. However, in the one with the total version, this is very relevant because you can review your performance based on different units. If you have a large organization, this is very relevant because it means that you can start assessing the health of different units and teams and whatever it is that you're looking to assess. We have a field for the scoring. So essentially now you can see we have on tracks, challenge, and concern based on the setup that you've done. And then there is now a score field that we populate. Just to show you first, we also have a low-level commentary. So you can type in your information, needs reviewing, for instance, and that means that you can use it as triggers for yourself in terms of what you are looking to do. There is also a change in waste management, CAW. It's a principle that we use at HICCS to try to point out that for healthy business management, you should always be change driven and change focused. And the change and waste management plans means that anything that is a concern, you should create your own change and waste management triggers. And you should, you then identify the development needs, and you should track them as part of improving your performance. So this is essentially a trigger also to increase the percentages. So rather than just making the assessment, you should have something physical that's happening in the business that you're tracking, so that you have an evidence-based risk management rather than an assumption-based, because assumption-based is not really particularly reliable. But this is more important for the larger businesses. You should track the commentary of your change and waste management, so that you actually see when you're achieving milestones or relevant progress, that you actually track when that happened and whether that actually makes sense. We will have some fields here where we suggest certain tools. In the online version, these will be direct links to all the services that we provide for each of the categories, services and solutions. Right, so when we then start, so this is the low-level assessment. There's a lot of questions, and you should not get too stuck in them. You should kind of just go by your gut feel at the first instance, and as you use this tool going forward, you can then increase your accuracy on using it. So if we take the English version now, just for the sense of it, so does our business operation plan reflect our current operation model? You could say, yeah, we are nearly there, which means that, we feel it's 85% readiness, and that triggers a challenge. So because it's not 90 yet, it's not full. And obviously 100% is what you aim for, which means that you're totally happy with each area of the business. So, this is how you would keep assessing your each of the questions and answering them. And depending on your answers, you start to get this traffic light kind of view of your business, and what level its health is at. So I'm just doing a few of these so that we can see what happens in the high level assessment. Now, the high level assessment is only really useful at the point where you complete the full low level assessment. The reason for this is that when we look at the business, it's not healthy that we look at one area. It's all one organic principle, and if we don't look at the bigger picture, we will not understand how we really should develop our business to become sustainable and so on for the future. So that's why we do it this way. So we actually only roll up the summary information when as and when parts of the assessment are completed. So the high level will not show you all the triggers until you essentially complete each of the sections. So really important that you complete all the information as well. Right, so that's it. Just one more point with this. Anything that is essentially not on track will create a CAW trigger called yes, in terms of you do need you should consider having a CAW plan. And when it's a yes, then you can actually here track your progress on it. So for instance, like, okay, I've acknowledged that I need and I've written a plan, maybe 5%. And then as I progress, I just increase this until eventually I feel it's 100. I have completed the changes, which also should mean that as you've been doing your assessments, it's not 75 anymore, but rather you're closer to 100 or 95 probably, because you have actually done the necessary changes for this risk to be managed. Okay, let's move to the high level. You can use the navigation buttons on the bottom as well if you prefer, but these work for quick navigation at the top. Right, so what you can see now is that for the parts of the assessment that I've completed, you actually can get the average scores of each of the groupings. So essentially the way the tool works is that you assess yourself on a lower level. Whereas a high, very detailed breakdown of the business, where it tries to capture your mind in terms of what's going on, and ideally you should base it as much as possible on fact. But as we all know, it's not fully possible to do that all the time. But it increases your accuracy because of the breakdown. So you're not thinking about finances, just, oh, is finance okay? But you're actually thinking about the different elements of finance and whether they are okay. And then you summarize it into an average score, which you can see in this high level assessment. So you essentially then get an EIS score for 82%. Business DNA formulation is at 80. Risk framework at 74, based on the scores that I gave in the low level. This triggers a recommendation. So, for instance, if this is an 82, it says room for improvement, leadership is potential and fully united or capable of understanding and structuring the wider business and its core components, including strategy. So, so it's kind of like trying to help understand what it might mean that this is at a challenge and not on track. So, and why there is a need to work on it. But there may be a much wider span of reasons. When you've done this, you can then select here for your own knowledge, how high the impact from a senior leadership perspective would be. So we might say that this is a medium impact, and this helps again in terms of putting our energy to focusing initially on the high impact stuff before we look at resolving the low impact things. So it's all about committing your resources in the areas that are most crucial, and also using those resources in a way that makes sense. So the assessments kind of help the senior management to then decide what kind of level of impact things have and how quickly they may need resolving. So that's your sort of helping thing. We then have a high-level commentary. You can add your comments into this field to try to describe what, from a high-level perspective, is being done to manage the result or the result of the low-level assessment. So if I go back, now we have EIS at 82. So if we go back to the low level, and I start changing these to hundreds, like this, right? And we go back into the high level. Just a moment, it's updating. You can now see that the score moves to 93%, and now it states on track. And you can also see that this recommendation for the high level has changed. So now it's a strong performance, saying shows that the business is structured, well organized, with effective, engaged leadership. Focus should be on continuous development. So that's kind of the whole idea, is that as you keep evolving, you keep tracking your changes, but you also get some kind of triggers of what needs to be done, as well as your own ability to create commentary on what the senior view is on the situation. So it's a very, very useful way of getting a full picture of all of the key things in a business that you could think of. So it's also a great learning tool. So if you want to teach your line managers or people about business, make them take this assessment, because they have to start to understand holistically what's going on in a real business environment, or in the kind of wider business environment. Okay, that's good. Then I can show you that if you go to File and Print, each of these different pages you can also print for yourself if you want to have snapshots. So that's possible. But as I say, if you do like the tool, it is worth considering taking the total version, because as we know, data is king. So having the ability to actually trace your assessments, however often you do them, is a massive advantage. Because when you have the dashboard and you can analyze this in charts and things, it becomes even quicker and much more visual. But understandably, there is a technical side to this, which is why we have to charge a little bit for that. But it's a great tool, and this is sort of what the future goes towards. And really, I do recommend reading the HICCS Fusion Ops, because it all is based on the idea of the Fusion Ops model, and that is what I strongly believe is going to be the future of business management, and running businesses sustainably and effectively and productively. So, that's what we try to inspire with this tool. So I'm hoping this made enough sense now. Do contact us for any questions, or if you feel that you need support in resolving any of the areas that may arise out of the assessment. As we are, trying to be, we're trying to create good relationships with particular businesses who want to be the best at what they do. So we want to be a part of that journey, and this tool is a massive advantage in communicating better between us and our clients. So yeah, hope you like it, and any questions, obviously let us know.